I was invited to speak to the Murphy-Cameron Homeowners Association, and the topic was, interestingly, cityhood. I mean, that was the topic I was asked to come and speak on. It wasn't just what's going on in the General Assembly. I mean, I was specifically asked to come and speak about cityhood. So I started asking around to various elected officials who might have an interest in the issue, and found that there was some interest in maybe an annexation. We introduced a piece of legislation that created a method of annexation. That piece of legislation was dealt with in the House Governmental Affairs Committee. I am holding that piece of legislation until the 2012 legislative session so that we can be sure, if annexation is in the cards, that that bill meets our needs. Now, let me explain to you what that bill does, okay? That bill is not an annexation plan, all right? It does not have any boundaries in it. It doesn't have any particulars in terms of how the annexation would happen or proceed. What it does is creates a method of annexation, okay, that is people-driven. Right now, in the Georgia Code, you've got 4 methods of annexation, all right? You've got the resolution and referendum method, that's resolution of the city council, and referendum of the citizens. You've got the 100% method, which is I live next to a city and I'm unincorporated and I want in, okay? Now that's one property owner next to a city, okay? You've got the 60% method, which says that you have to have 60%, you have to have the owners of 60% of the land area agree to be annexed in, and then 60% of the electorate would have to agree to that. And then finally you have local act of the General Assembly. Well, none of those would work for the type of annexation that we're looking at. I mean, there's one that might work. But it is highly unlikely that we would pass a local act getting an annexation in this neck of the woods done, an annexation of this size in this neck of the woods done. Highly unlikely, okay? You've got the 100% method, which doesn't apply here. The 60% method for an area that is this large is difficult to pull off. I mean, just the sheer effort of going door to door and getting the signatures of 60% of the voters and the owners of 60% of the property is a gargantuan task. And then finally, you have the resolution and referendum method. Well, the resolution and referendum method is all well and good, except that it calls for an intergovernmental agreement between the city that would be doing the annexing and the county government. And on what planet are we going to get an agreement from the DeKalb County government to an annexation? Not going to happen. And so the reason we have the bill is to create a method of annexation that amends for what's called an unincorporated peninsula, defined in the bill, which, and I'll explain what I mean by that is, you know, in our neck of the woods, we have an unincorporated peninsula that is the neighborhood surrounding West Nancy Creek Drive, Murphy-Cameron Park, and Silver Lake, where you've got Sandy Springs and the Fulton County line on the west, the city of Dunwoody on the north, and Chamblee on the east. So in an area like that, an unincorporated peninsula, you would have the right to do the resolution and referendum method without having to have an intergovernmental agreement from the county. So all the bill does is takes away the county's veto power over your right to decide what your form of local government should be. That's what the bill does.